Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to News 360 and it's live on News Hub here at Desawe in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Ford to look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by Deluxe Paint, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Spray,
Premier Health Insurance.
Bank of Ghana merges 5 distressed universal banks.
Minority in Parliament and Progressive People's Party kick against renegotiated Ameri deal.
President Akufo-Addo dismisses corruption allegations against him.
And in business tonight, Ghana Revenue Authority to rake in some 160 million cedis in revenue through luxury vehicles levy.
And on the international front this evening, violence flares over Zimbabwe polls.
We'll bring you details of this and more tonight here on News 360. Remember, we're live also on DSTV channel 279 all across the world, on TV3 Ghana, on Facebook. To our first story this evening, the Bank of Ghana has revoked the licenses of 5 banks and granted a universal banking license to government for them to operate as the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, says the move is to promote a stable and strong banking sector to drive economic transformation.
Unibank Ghana Limited, the Royal Bank, Beige Bank Limited, Sovereign Bank and Construction Bank all cease to exist from today. The Consolidated Bank will be headed by Daniel Addo as the new Chief Executive Officer. Central Bank Governor Dr. Ernest Addison said the banks were faced mainly with liquidity challenges.
In the case of Sovereign Bank Limited, as part of Bank of Ghana's investigations into the failure of Capital Bank Limited, currently in receivership, it emerged that Sovereign Bank's license was obtained by false pretenses through the use of suspicious and non-existent capital. The bank is insolvent and unable to meet daily liquidity obligations falling due. Beige Bank and Construction Bank were each granted provisional licenses in 2016 and launched in 2017. Subsequent investigations conducted by the Bank of Ghana revealed that, similar to the case of Sovereign Bank, both banks obtained their banking licenses under false pretenses using suspicious and non-existent capital, which has resulted in a situation in which their reported capital is inaccessible to them for their operations. Ladies and gentlemen, to support the government's twin objective of financial stability and strengthening indigenous banks, the Bank of Ghana is consolidating the good assets and liabilities of Unibank Ghana Limited, the Royal Bank Limited, the Beige Bank Limited, Sovereign Bank Limited, and the Construction Bank Limited to become the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited with immediate effect.
The Consolidated Bank will have all deposits of 5 banks transferred with customers assured of safe deposits. Government has also issued a 5.67 billion cedi bond to help address the financial challenges within the sector.
The government of Ghana has recapitalized the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited to take on the selected good assets and all liabilities of these 5 banks. The government has also issued a bond of 5.76 billion cedis to cover the gap between the liabilities and good assets assumed by the Consolidated Bank.
The Consolidated Bank will assume branches and staff of the 5 banks will operate its head office from the Manette Tower C, Airport City. Customers will have immediate access to their funds through existing branches and ATMs of the 5 banks. The governor further assured of no immediate job losses of these banks. have described this as the first happening within the banking sector, having the Bank of Ghana consolidate 5 banks into one as a consolidated bank limited. Now, let's have a feel of exactly what these banks stand for and why this move by the Bank of Ghana has come as the operations as individual banks ceases from today, and from tomorrow the Consolidated Bank Limited's activities will begin, according to the governor. Now, the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited will constitute 5 banks, which we already know. That is the Sovereign Bank, Royal Bank, Beige Bank, which was formerly Beige Capital, Construction Bank, as well as Unibank. Now, the 5 financial institutions have run into liquidity challenges as described by the governor for the whole, and the Bank of Ghana has formed the bank to take over 5 struggling banks within the country. These are the banks that we have outlined there for you. And still, government has made some 450 million cedis available for the Consolidated Bank Limited as starting capital, and has named Daniel Addo as the CEO. Shortly, we'll be telling you something about Mr. Addo there, who was formerly with the UBA. And the governor of the Bank of Ghana said the Sovereign Bank, Beige Bank, Construction Bank obtained their licenses under false pretense, an act that could attract criminal charges. As to the sanctions to these charges, the Bank of Ghana is here to explain to us what we should expect for these 3 banks, talking about Beige Bank, Sovereign Bank, and Construction Bank, who had their licenses under false pretense of having adequate capital there for the Bank of Ghana, aside UMB as well as Royal Bank. Now, the finance gap between, note that the government has also issued a bond there for the banks, which will not be seen as part of the physical monies there. Unibank, I beg your pardon. Now, to finance the gap between the liabilities and good assets assumed by the Consolidated Bank, the government has issued a bond, which I was just talking about. That is 5.76 billion Ghana cedis to also cater for the banking challenges within the financial sector. And note that this will not form part of the IMF assessment, as explained by the governor there to journalists at the press conference. And the Consolidated Bank will assume the branches and staff of the 5 banks and will operate its head office from the Manette Tower C, Airport City, Accra. Again, the governor gave some assurances to customers of these 5 banks that they should be assured their deposits will be secure. For that, he assured that, and they can still access services of these 5 banks from the various existing branches as well as the various ATMs there. And the Bank of Ghana has appointed Ni Amano Dodu of KPMG as the receiver for the 5 banks, talking about the non-performing loans there. Well, sorry about that. So that is what the Bank of Ghana is saying. Now, talking about the management of the bank, the Consolidated Bank will be headed by Daniel Addo, as we already explained, as the Chief Executive Officer. And other key management staff have also been mentioned to take over the management of the new bank. Let's hear from the governor.
The bank has approved Mr. Daniel Addo as the new Chief Executive of the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. In addition, the government has appointed the following as the key management people to support in transitioning into the new established Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. They are Mr. Simon Donu, who would be the Consolidated Bank Director in charge of Unibank, Mr. Alex Dodu, Consolidated Bank Director in charge of Royal, Ms. Kesua Brown, Consolidated Bank Director in charge of Construction Bank, Mr. Babatunde Ampa, Consolidated Bank Director in charge of Beige Bank, and Boulders Advisors Limited, led by Mr. Reggie France, as advisor to the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. The Bank of Ghana has also appointed Mr. Nidodu Amano of KPMG as the receiver in respect of the bad loan assets of the 5 banks under Section 123 of the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions 2016, that is Act 930.
Right, so once again, I'll quickly go over the banks. We have Royal Bank, Beige Bank Limited, Sovereign Bank, and Construction Bank, as well as Unibank. Now, let's look at what happened to Royal Bank. The bank, as described by the central bank, says it is significantly undercapitalized. And when you look at the performing loans, it constitutes about 78.9% of total loans granted, owing to poor credit risk. Again, it overstated its capital position of the bank for the purpose of complying with capital adequacy requirements. Shortly, Alfred will be interacting with Joe Jackson to tell us what this means. But to Beige Bank now, it obtained its banking license under false pretense, which we've already established, with a loan portfolio that has deteriorated, resulting in non-performing loans of 72.80%, and the bank's capital adequacy ratio is also negative, standing at 17.18. That's against the regulatory minimum of 10%. And the capital deficit again of Beige Bank stands at 159 million Ghana cedis, rendering the bank insolvent. And for Unibank, the bank is significantly undercapitalized. Already, the Bank of Ghana says it has declared it insolvent, and also its capital deficit of 7.4 billion compared to regulatory minimum of 400 million cedis is clear there, and its capital adequacy ratio is also negative. Alfred will be going into that. And Sovereign Bank also had the same issue as Beige Bank in terms of obtaining its licenses by false pretense. It has issues with its liquidity, standing at 21 million Ghana cedis, and the bank has not been able to publish its audited accounts as of December 2017 till date. And finally, the Construction Bank, the initial minimum capital of the bank provided by its promoter was funded by loans from NIB Bank and Unibank, and the figures are the 34 million as against 61 million, and the bank's inability to inject additional capital to restore its capital adequacy to the minimum capital of 120 million cedi required. So there you have it. And briefly about who is going to be the Chief Executive Officer is Daniel Wilson-Addo, who is a chartered banker with 12 years experience in management positions. He is the former Executive Director of First Atlantic Bank Limited. So that's it. You have it there. And take note that NIB and ADB, according to the Bank of Ghana, will have some capitalization of the 400 million cedis. So they are secured in terms of December 2018. Alfred is standing by with Joe Jackson with more analysis on the big issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that detail. I wouldn't say summary. Joe Jackson's already joined us in studio. He's the Chief Operations Officer at Delek Finance. He's a financial analyst. Joe, thank you for joining us this evening. If you look at the concerns, especially for depositors, the Bank of Ghana has indicated that no customer of Unibank, Royal Bank, Beige Bank, Sovereign Bank, Construction Bank will lose their deposits. All deposits in the 5 banks are safe. Your assessment of this particular intervention we are saying now?
First of all, to call this a merger is kind of dressing it up a bit. What essentially has happened is the Bank of Ghana has closed down the 5 banks.
It's closed them down.
It's closed them down, shut, kaput, out of the way. And then it has created a new bank, put money in that bank, and said, I will pull all the assets, the good assets, into that bank so that depositors don't lose their money.
You know, and the governor talks about the fact that this new bank will not have toxic assets, no bad assets. Then what happens to the toxic assets of the 5 banks being consolidated? I think we need to know the status of.
Well, first of all, remember that what he's done is that he's set up a new bank. Consolidated Bank is a new bank. It's not really a measure of existing banks. It's a new bank with new capitalization, and they've moved the assets and the liabilities that are right into that bank to say, take it and run. Now, it still does not stop the central bank from trying to recover all those monies that have been either wrongfully or fraudulently misused. It does not stop it from trying to recover loans that have been given that have gone bad. So when it says that there's no toxic asset, all it's saying is that, listen, the situation with these banks is gone beyond any form of fixing. They can't fix it themselves. I've taken away their license. I've created a new bank. I've moved you, the depositor, into that new bank.
Solutions for recapitalization due to market conditions. Is this the way to go for this? Direct government intervention to help indigenous banks that cannot meet this?
I'll be honest with you, it makes me uncomfortable.
It makes you uncomfortable?
It makes me uncomfortable. I can understand the thinking behind it. I can understand the desire to make sure that local banks survive. Why I say uncomfortable than calling it outright wrong is simply this: that they've set a criteria that you must be properly run. You must be, however small you are, you must be run right.
Absolutely.
The governance must be right. The Bank of Ghana must give you a certificate of good health. Then, if you cannot make up the minimum requirements, presumably the government is going to take a stake in your institution. Right? Now, what I would have liked to hear after that is the government is also going to make arrangements to remove its stake after a period of time.
As in directly running these banks.
Exactly. So what would have sounded slightly better to me and made me less uncomfortable would be to hear the government operating like a venture capital institution and say, I'm giving you this money and it will be for a maximum of
X number of years.
X number of years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever makes sense. And after that period, I expect to get out of the stake and leave the institutions to run themselves as private sector businesses. I am definitely uncomfortable with the government stepping in without an exit strategy.
I'm going to hold you on to that, but then we'll get into this fraudulent acquisition or the false pretenses that the governor talked about. Let's go on to Skype now. Joining us live from Ontario in Canada, Emmanuel Akrong is a financial consultant. Mr. Akrong, thank you for your time this evening. I'm sure there in Canada you're doing an analysis of what's happening now. What's your assessment of the regulatory architecture now that we're having in this country? Hello? Unfortunately, we're unable to hear Mr. Kong. Unfortunately, Emmanuel Kong, financial consultant. We apologize for that technical hitch. But Mr. Jackson, now that particular information by the governor that these three banks, I'm talking about Construction, Sovereign, and Beige banks, acquired their universal banking license through false pretenses, fraudulently. That's serious claim to make.
It's a serious allegation. And when you read the details and the attachments of the press release, what the governor is saying is this: when you come to the Bank of Ghana and you say, I want to set up a bank, it presumes you must have some amount of money yourself before you even start taking depositors' funds, so that in the course of running your business, if you make any losses, we will use your own funds to make up the difference. Now, when you don't have that money, then obviously you're just trading with other people's money. Anything happens, somebody is at a loss.
Right.
A depositor is at a loss. What the Bank of Ghana is saying, the governor is implying, is this: when you came to me to set up your bank and you said you had, say, 100 million, you never had 100 million.
Absolutely. So how did you get the license?
Okay, so you took 100 million from someone, showed it to me at the central bank, got the license, and because it wasn't your money, you had to repay. And to disguise it, you made it seem as if you had put make an investment or a deposit. In fact, it goes on to say that in the case of Beige Bank, the money that moved back and forth was as much as 86% of its assets.
That's a very precarious situation to want to put it.
It is an extremely precarious situation.
Okay.
What we are looking for, what we are all waiting for patiently, is to see the central bank give us a bit more evidence of this. But I tell you, the allegations made are so serious, I doubt that he would make them likely.
But we need to know. Information is important.
It is important.
Mr. Jackson, thank you for your time this evening. I'm indeed very grateful.
Thank you. I just want to say, before I leave, just want to say congratulations to my mother, Auntie Mary Chinri Hesse.
Absolutely.
Who was appointed chancellor? First female chancellor. She makes all of us.
Of that story.
She makes all of us proud.
Absolutely.
And she's someone we can all be proud of.
Thank you so much. We continue this conversation. It's not
definitely. It's not going to end now.
Thank you so much. Joe Jackson is the Chief Operations Officer at Delex Finance. He is a financial analyst as well, joining us on MTN Video Report today. Citizen journalist Wisdom Omega highlights the poor state of the Eastern Corridor Road between Golokwati and Hohoi in the Volta region.
This is part of the Eastern Corridor Road leading from Kwati to Hohoi, to be precisely Afajatu district. For the past 2.5 years now, they have abandoned this road since 2016. They are not even planning to do anything about this particular road for us. Drivers and passengers' life is in danger, especially if you are newcomer. We are pleading to the government to come to our aid and use this particular road for us. It is danger here. This is your citizen journalist, Wisdom Omega, Volta region.
That you can also send your MTN video report to 055-1433-044, 055-1433-044. We encourage you to do so. Now, let's go back to what's happening with these 5 banks. The Bank of Ghana has announced the formation of a consolidated bank, Ghana. Professor John Gachi is the head of the University of Cape Coast Business School and also a financial analyst. Prof, thank you for your time. Professor Gachi, if you can hear me on the telephone. Now, what will be your assessment of this formation of the consolidated bank? Unfortunately, we seem to have lost Professor John Gachi on the telephone. We'll try to raise him back again on the telephone. But if you just joined us, this is the news coming through from the Central Bank. We brought you that breaking news earlier in the day, and the details as giving. Daniel Wilson-Addo has been now announced as the CEO of the newly established Consolidated Bank Ghana, which the governor of the Bank of Ghana gave details of what was announced earlier in the day. And also the Consolidated Bank assuming the branches and staff of the 5 banks and will operate its head office from the Manette Tower C. Let's go back to the telephone now. Professor John Gachi, if you can hear me, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Great. Now, the governor talks about no significant job losses after the consolidation of these 5 banks. Is this something that's feasible?
There will be no significant job losses in the immediate term. After they settle down, there will be huge job losses because this is a limited liability entity that will act on, will operate on profit basis. And we do know the size of a branch of a bank. Then the average number of people that a branch of a bank is a maximum of 9 to 16 people. So definitely, if it's going to be a run like a normal commercial bank without the interference of government to populate the place, definitely there will be job losses after the immediate term.
Prof, thank you very much for your time this evening. I'm indeed very grateful, Professor John Gachi. We'll back shortly with some more news here on News 360. To stay.
Thanks for staying with us once again. Still News 360. My name is Nanika Mensabang, but this time we're not talking banking, but some other business matters. The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, has proposed to the Ghana Revenue Authority to audit churches engaged in commercial ventures.
The General Secretary, Solomon Kotei, insisted churches engaged in commercial activities be properly audited by the Ghana Revenue Authority for them to pay taxes.
If the GRA, in their auditing, can really look at the church accounts and see those who clearly are making money from people, okay, and yet they are not helping society in any form, okay, and government will look at it and maybe catch some law.
Although he supported the idea that church members pay taxes, he is of the strong conviction that some tax percentage on churches could address government revenue shortfalls.
If your account is separated, the school account is different, the hospital account is different, and the church account is also different, then the tax will be applied on the school where you have made profit or on the hospital that you have made profit. But if he's doing a consolidated account and bringing the church and everything lump also to it, then it will be the responsibility of the GAR to segregate and put aside which areas are making profits and which areas are non-profit making.
He lauded government for imposing taxes on luxury vehicles.
They are going to pay insurance premium. It will be the various specs on the vehicle that will determine how much premium you pay. So if the tax is also ranging it in that order, for me, I think we should also look at structured taxes to be paid. If it falls within, fine.
The implementation took effect on August 1.
And vehicle and machine owners seeking an ideal solution for the underperforming engines can now heave a sigh of relief as one of the world's leading engine and oil additives performance brand XIR has been launched in Ghana. The X1R range of lubricants endorsed by U.S. Space Agency NASA has a variety of oils for motorbikes, vehicles, as well as heavy machinery.
The product range includes engine treatment for both petrol and diesel system, automatic and manual transmission treatment, engine flash and octane booster. Invented in the Philippines and perfected in the US with a corporate head office based in Florida, it is endorsed by US Space Agency NASA. It is the preferred brand for car racing giant Ferrari. Marketing manager of X1R for Blue Soil Investment Limited, Karin Da Silveira, said the product were the results of the latest innovations in lubrication research.
We hear people talk about products, okay, but then the performance doesn't match up with what they speak out. But there's a product that matches what is being said. Everybody who has used this product has acknowledged the fact that the product actually works. So what we are saying is that it's not just excellent, but then the delivery is mega, mind-blowing, breathtaking.
The product's liability insurance policy of up to $1 million placed on X1R is evident of the confidence in the product range.
For them to put that amount as a product insurance liability, you get it, it's not a joke. For NASA to endorse such a product, that means it's spectacular. So I urge you all to rush, get X1R.
A chemical engineer with Blue Soil Investment Limited, Isaac Atusego, explained how the product works.
This product is not a lubricant. I want to make that clear. This product is an additive that improves the performance of the lubricant you're already using in your machine. So basically, it's a technology that enhances the performance of other products. It's supposed to tweak the performance of another product and not to serve as a replacement of the other product.
Blue Soil Investment Limited in Accra are the sole distributors.
Alright, so you can get more business updates on 3news.com. That will do for business tonight. My name is Nanikia Mensah Prampa.
Well, thanks for the business news. And in some other news this evening, the minority in Parliament says President Akufo-Addo should be held liable for the new Ameri deal, which they describe as stinky, dubious and scandalous. Addressing the media in Accra, MP for Yape Kusewu and former Deputy Power Minister John Jinapor blamed the President, who he said approved the deal to be presented to Parliament.
According to the minority in Parliament, the new Ameri deal presented to Parliament had no legal opinion from the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, unapproved by the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission (PURC), and has no value for money audit. The group described the deal as a complete rip-off, full of padded, inflated and contrived miscellaneous figures, adding the New Deal fit into a grand scheme orchestrated by government to create, loot and share.
The current agreement has a tenure of 5 years and it will cost us 510 million and amortized over a period of time. And so if you take the amortization schedule, we are supposed to pay 8.5 million every month. As we speak now, we have done 2.5 years. So when you divide the 510 by 2, it means that we should be left with about 255 million, after which the plant becomes the property of Ghana. We therefore find it scandalous the attempt by President Akufo-Addo to introduce a third party known as Miscellaneous International Trading Company to assume ownership of the power plant at a proposed capacity charge of 3.8 US cents per kilowatt hour for 15 good years. When you translate this over the 15-year period, we'll be paying $1,035 million US dollars.
The minority said a careful financial analysis shows an overly generous rate return of 68% as against 17.9% in the original agreement, representing 370 improvement in the financial returns to miscellaneous.
It has become obvious that the NPP now in government has been caught up in their own web of lies and deceit on which they rode to power. Their every move and action in government continue to vindicate the NDC. We therefore call on government and we join well-meaning Ghanaians as a matter of urgency in the supreme national interest to suspend these deals and make the details available for broader public scrutiny.
The group accused the president of being deeply involved in the deal, which they described as scandalous and corrupt.
The ultimate responsibility as far as this scandalous deal is concerned must be placed squarely on the President of the Republic of Ghana. President Akufo-Addo must be personally held liable and responsible for this scandal. The Minister of Energy couldn't have come here without approval from the President. And the President couldn't have given approval if he did not look into this. It therefore sums up that the President is very comfortable with this deal, and we want to put it on record that the President cannot extricate himself from this stinking, scandalous, disastrous deal that is about to wreck the whole nation.
The minority also said the car partnership agreement being renegotiated is even worse as it is fraught with inflated figures.
Let's just say on this, the Progressive People's Party, as PPP, has described the renegotiated Ameri agreement as a stab on the back of the Ghanaian populace. A statement signed by the party's National Secretary Murtala Mohammed questioned why government is in a hurry to renegotiate and extend the deal whose lifespan will elapse in 2 years beyond 15 years.
The revised agreement as it stands, according to the party, would rather increase the cost of electricity and overburden the already overburdened consumers for the next 15 years. The party could not understand why NPP, which claimed the previous government had been shortchanged to the tune of $150 million, turn around to accept and propose another deal whose payments could only prolong the total ownership of the power plant from 5 to beyond 15 years. The PPP expressed concern over the motivation to sign the new agreement, which it attributed to what it termed unbridled corruption.
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has dismissed corruption allegations against him.
I came to this function to emphasize, for the avoidance of all doubts, that the internal auditor is one of the primary weapons in the fight against corruption. The stringent and desperate efforts being made by my political opponents to not tarnish me and members of my family with corruption will simply not wash. I did not come into public life to make money out of public service. And members of my family know fully well they have to behave and are not involved in anything untoward. I am aware that you give a dog a bad name in order to hang it. But this dog will not be hanged.
And the minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu, has denied a report circulating on social media that he is against the candidature of former President John Dramani Mahama. The Tamale South Member of Parliament said he has not issued a statement to that effect, neither has he instructed anyone to do so. He said the statement is only intended to create disaffection and dissatisfaction within the party and disunity within the minority caucus in Parliament. He urged the public to disregard the statement pledging to support whoever emerges winner of the party's flag bearership contest.
We're watching News 360 from the News Hub here at Disoe Kando. We've got some sports news coming up shortly. Stay with us.
More and more people are using MTN mobile money in their everyday life.
Welcome back to News 360. Let's see what's making news on the international front.
The NDC alliance alleges the ruling ZANU-PF party has rigged Monday's presidential and parliamentary vote. Parliamentary results show the ruling ZANU-PF party heading for a big majority. The presidential result has yet to be declared. European Union poll monitors have expressed concern over the length of time it is taking to declare the presidential result. President Emerson Mnangagwa has urged patience and calm following the first elections since long-serving ruler Robert Mugabe was ousted from power. The MDC alliance says its presidential candidate Nelson Chamisa won Monday's election. Correspondents stress that Wednesday's violence is confined to the center of Harare, an opposition stronghold, while other parts of the country remain calm. Latest reports from the capital suggest the security forces are in control of the streets.
Before we get into entertainment, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, that's NAGRAT, has warned government not to increase the contact hours under the double tracking system for senior high school students.
According to the president of the association, Angel Kabonu, members are upset with the Education Ministry for failing to conduct broader consultations before agreeing to roll out the policy. As part of the double tracking arrangement, contact hours be increased by 2 hours, with mainstream teachers given additional payment for the extra hours. But NAGRA's president Angel Kabonu expressed concern about it being at variance with the labor laws.
The semester, from the information I have, is going to be permanent. The extended contact hours is going to be permanent. The only thing that is the stopgap measure is the double track. And I don't think it is the best at all. We will not ask our teachers not to work, but we are telling government that it is going to be counterproductive.
Government has earmarked more than 800 million cedis for the 2017-2018 academic year under the free SHS policy, with part of the amount to complete infrastructure. But NAGRA said the amount is woefully inadequate and suggested to government to review tax laws for multinational companies.
And we say, you give tax holidays and tax exemptions to multilateral companies in this country, to maybe certain people as a result of political patronage and so on and so forth. If we're able to plug all these, we'll have the resources to be able to develop the infrastructure that we need in the institutions.
The Ministry of Education is expected to hold another round of discussions with the teacher unions before the next academic year.
You're watching News 360. We've got some entertainment news coming up next with Miriam.
Yeah.
Miriam, over to you.
Hello there, good evening. It's time to do some entertainment news on News 360. It's a Wednesday and we call it a Lifestyle Wednesday. Now, it tends to look at the growing trends of beard keeping among some male celebrities who rock it quite well.
Gone are the days when Islamic leaders and young Muslims were the ones noted for beard keeping. Leaving a beard has now become fashionable, with some male Guinean celebrities adopting it. The likes of Sarkodie, Ajete Annan, Too Sweet Annan, Elekem Kumoji, James Gardner, Kofi Samoa, George Britton, among others, all rock beards in their own unique styles. However, it's not every fashion style that suits everybody. So, it's not every man that should grow a beard. But if you insist, then you need to spend more money for a good barber to shape it, to enable you get the desired look.
About that beard, no stubble. I'm all about that beard, no stubble. I'm all about that beard, no stubble. All about that beard.
Away from all the hair, let's do some music. Now, Afrobeat and hip-hop musician Lord Paper, known in real life as Michael Teshi Frimpong, has turned his back on secular music after meeting the founder of the Perez Chapel International, Bishop Ajinasari, in closed doors.
Love don't got you before. Love don't got you before.
The church appears to be winning as more and more secular musicians are joining the likes of Lord Kenya, Ofori Amponsa, Yao Siki, and Joe Fraser, Irama composer Lord Paper. After leaving his acting job in South Africa to pursue full-time music in Ghana, Lord Paper became a household name upon releasing his debut controversial single, Irama, in 2016. The video was criticized over its sexually explicit content. 2 years on, Lord Paper is reported to have given his life to Christ. In a tweet he shared, the tweet reads, quote, "Was a life-changing meeting with you, Daddy Pastor Ajinasari. Thanks for the prayers. I've repented for good. The devil can't use me again. Proud of the new me. Hashtag new Lord Paper. Hashtag new music. Hashtag new vibes."
Yeah, I decided to be a positive influence and then cut off the negativity that I came up with. I've had a couple of things that has happened that I don't really want to talk about, but they're not really helping me. So I had to bring Christ into it.
Paper urged his fans to get rid of all his vulgar songs and sexually explicit videos.
If you still have those nude videos and all those things on your phone or anywhere, you should delete it, because me myself, I've deleted it from my pages, my accounts, everywhere. So if you still have them, just delete them. And I don't want anyone to play them or anything. So if you follow me because of nudity and those explicit things, then you can unfollow me, because now all about positive vibe now. The old ways is gone. I'm just here, love don't got you before.
Well, we wish him the very best going forward. Away from that, renowned investigative journalist Anas Arimeyaw Anas has collaborated with Stonebwoy on his next expose, Chained by Begging, which will be premiered this month.
Renowned investigative journalist Anas Arimeyaw Anas is set to release another investigative piece on how children are trafficked for financial gains. The video, which will be premiered this month, seeks to expose the conspiracy behind the growing armed beggars on the streets of Accra and Kumasi. Anas has partnered with O Africa on his new piece, Chained by Begging, #KidsOurFuture campaign. A teaser of the video has been posted on Twitter to create awareness. Ghana's dancehall artist Stonebwoy was the one who composed the soundtrack for the investigative piece that Chained by Begging project.
These innocent children, they are our future.
On the international scene, Madonna is celebrating her upcoming 60th birthday with a fundraiser for orphans and children in Malawi. The singer is teaming with Facebook for the fundraiser, which runs from Monday through to August 31st. Fans are encouraged to donate directly to Madonna's Facebook page. The proceeds are expected to be used to raise funds for Malawi Foundation and global payment company Ripple. Madonna will turn 60 on August 16th. Well, that's about it for entertainment news. My name is Miriam Osei Ajman. There's more news on 3news.com.
right, so thank you, Miriam. While we're at it, caught up in the banking issue, what's happening at the Jubilee House? The president has sworn in the new EC chair, Jean Adokwe-Mensah, and her 2 deputies.
You, Madam Chair, and your 2 deputies have come to office at a time when there's considerable anxiety in the nation about the work of the Commission. It is the quality of your work that will reassure the Ghanaian people that the democratic system of government that they have chosen for their governance will be properly nurtured by an electoral system that allows their voice to be plainly and loudly heard.
So that's what happened just about a few minutes ago at the Jubilee House. There's more on this and our subsequent bulletins on News at 10 here on TV3. My name is Alfred Okanse. On behalf of the rest of the team, thank you for watching.